There are 62 kinds of views, wrong views, called in Pali dvasati detikata. And this is one thing. So among these, the view called atta deti or sakaya deti, these are two names it has. This is like the head of all these views. And Sayadaw said a bit about this so that the yogis would understand. And then there is Vipassana. Vipassana is that which can see the way things arise due to causes and then pass away. It can see how they are unsatisfactory because of this, and can see how they have no self, they are just process. So what can see these characteristics of what is really there is called Vipassana. And this is another thing. And then there is Nibbana. When one experiences the endless stream of mental and physical phenomena, this is called paṇḍitā, this endless stream of mind and matter coming and going. When this stops, when this is stilled, this is apavatā, and this is nibbana. So there are these three kinds of things. The 62 beliefs. These, based on the belief in a self, they hold that there is another kind of peace or Santi. This is called Samuti Santi. It is in English called conventional peace. It's what people agree upon. They agree upon this as a convention. And then there is Vipassana knowledge. This occurs one by one, stage by stage. Initially, we don't know these details, but one moment after another, what we don't know is cut off. What we don't know dies down. So this is Tadanga Santi, or momentary peace. When Vipassana knowledge matures, then one goes from experiencing this continual stream of mind and matter to apavatā, which is the cessation of the cutting off of this endless stream. And this is when path knowledge, maggaññāna, and fruition knowledge, phalanñāna, with these we see nibbana. And when this happens, then some of the kilesas are put out completely. So to the point of no return. And this is called acanta santi. So there are these three kinds of peace: samuti santi, conventional peace, or tadanga santi is the second type, sometimes called momentary peace, and acanta santi, which you might be able to call ultimate peace. So this, Sayadaw has explained to some extent about conventional peace, samuti santi. If he were to elaborate on this, we would not finish by the end of the retreat. It would take a long time. So the most important of these beliefs is the belief that is called atta deti, or sakaya deti. Sakaya deti means that on top of the mind and matter, which are really there, these mind and matter, or nama and rupa, are really there, but we don't see them as they are. And therefore, on top of this, one thinks there is something extra, which is a self, atta or atama. And one thinks this atta, there are two kinds. The individual self or soul called jiva atta, and the parama atta, supreme being. So the belief that these exist, these atta, is called atta deiti, the view of self. So there are three kinds of Santi. And Santi means still, quiet. And its deeper meaning is that it is cool and peaceful. So this quality is called in Pali Santi. So only if there is no movement can there be stillness or quiet. So it's important to still, to calm movement which is unpeaceful. So what method will we use? The people who believe in a self, attavadi, they think that in each being there's an atta, a self or soul. And this is permanent. This is always there. From above, there is a supreme being, Parama Atta, who gave this to each being. He gave each being a soul. And this soul is a part of the supreme being. And since this supreme being is permanent, this part is also permanent, lasting. And because it lasts, it is permanent, they consider this to be good and to be peaceful. So this is their belief. And based on this view of self, there are 62 variations that have arisen. So of all these 62 views, their leader is the view called Sakaya Deiti or Atta Deiti. This is a view that is not seen by one's own knowledge using a true method, but people who believe it, they take it to be true, and they call this peaceful. So they call it Santi. The view of self, Attavada, was the first to arise in the world, but others developed from it. And yesterday, Sayadaw talked about one of these variations, which is, you might call it, present life view. This view says that there are 4 elements that come together, the 4 great elements. And if we put food in, then there will be life. And if we put liquid inside these 4 elements, then there will be consciousness. There will be the knowing mind. Without food, the life will end. Without water or liquid, the consciousness, the mind, will die. And this view is still found in India today. There are many who believe in this, in the truth of this physical being. So other believers believe in this rupa, the matter, and nama as atta. These rupa and nama can be directly seen. And the Buddha said that rupa, or matter, is that which does not know. Nama is that which knows. The Buddha said, these are not self, these are anatta. There's no jiva atta, there's no parama atta in these. The Buddha said, these mind and matter, nama and rupa, themselves are not atta. They are Dhamma. That is, they have their own nature. They bear their own nature. So the Buddha said very bravely that there is just this Dhamma, There is just this true Dhamma, just true nature. So the Buddha said, Rupa and Nama are not atta. They arise due to causes, and they don't stay that way once they arise. They are anicca. They are impermanent. To say they are impermanent means that having been born, they die. Arising, they pass away. So they don't have any inherent core or essence. And one can't say, oh, may this not be like this. May it not be like this. One can't prevent it from being the way it is, this nama and rupa. One also can't say, oh, may it be this way. One can't make it that way. One can't make it the way one wants it. One can't stop it from being the way one doesn't want it. The nama and rupa just arise due to causes and then they pass away. And because of this, they are dukkha. They are suffering. And so this nama and rupa, mind and matter, which is not self, is also anicca, impermanent. This not self is nama and rupa, mind and matter. This impermanent thing is also mind and matter. And being this way, it's suffering, dukkha. It's not good. It's also asubha, not pleasant. So these are four names for nama and rupa: anatta, anicca, dukkha, and asubha. And none of these names are good. Thus, this nama and rupa, which is not self and which is not permanent, when we don't know that it is impermanent, we think it's permanent. So this is wrong. This is seeing it the opposite from the way it is. It is not good, but it is actually suffering. But when we don't know it like this, we think that seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking are good and pleasant. This is seeing it the opposite of the way it really is. When we see it as controllable, it isn't really like that. It's not under our control. But if we see it as being under our control, this is the opposite of the way it really is. And there's nothing delightful in this nama and rupa. But because we do not know it as nama and rupa, we think it's beautiful. We think it's pleasant, delightful. So not knowing it as it is, we go the wrong way. Not knowing is avijja. When we know in the wrong way, this is also avijja, knowing what is dukkha or suffering as sukha or pleasant. Knowing what is really anicca or impermanent as permanent, nicca. Knowing what has no self as having a self. Knowing what is not pleasant, asubha, as subha, pleasant. So this is knowing things in the reverse of the way they really are. And when one knows wrongly like this, then following that wrong knowing, there will be lobha, greed, dosa, anger, moha, delusion, following one after another. So it's evident that the world is very, very dirty because of this ignorance. So before the Buddha became the Buddha, when he was the Bodhisattva, about to become the Bodhisattva, he thought that if there is impermanence, there must be something which is permanent. If there is suffering, then there must be something that is not suffering. If there is a self, then there must be something that is truly no self, absent of this jiva atta, absence of this parama atta. So, if there is heat, there must be coolness somewhere. If one has a new life, then in that life one will age, get sick, and in the end one will die. There must be something that is the opposite of this. So he thought that life is just, it always involves this nature of aging, sickness, and death. As long as there is life, there is going to be aging, sickness, and death. He thought, I will search for a way to get the real essence that life can give. I will search to find something of value. And so, starting with the parami of dana, he fulfilled the 10 paramis. So the Buddha sought a true method to control heat, to prevent it, to cut it off. In the hot world, the Buddha sought the end of he sought the way to overcome suffering, this extreme heat. And he found that, and he reached the other side. He reached this achanta santi, or ultimate peace. And this is the best. This is what is to be desired and to be cherished, this achanta santi that the Buddha found. Santi means to become still, to become cool. So there is something, there is some element which can make heat cool down. The Buddha knew this for himself. He found this. He found that it is cool. What is it that calms down, that dies down? Lova, greed. Dosa, anger. Moha, not knowing. Mana, pride. The scattered mind, envy. All these things which are agitated and hot, all these things, all things which are not good, these all died down. Or another way of looking at it is that nama and rupa, mind and matter, died down, came to an end. So this is the end of new life. This is the end of lifetimes. And this is the best. This is achanta santi, or ultimate peace. So this calming and dying down of all suffering connected with rupa and nama, matter and mind, is called achanta santi. This achanta santi is also called sukha, which means good, peaceful. And it is avedita sukha. That means that it does not involve experiencing any of the 5 sense objects. And it's also called Santi Sukha because it is free of the agitation of the kilesas. It's hard for humans to accept the idea that there is a happiness that does not involve one of the 6 sense objects that we experience in our body and mind. Because when we experience things we like, then we feel good. We are always going for things that make us feel good. So when we see something that we like, we feel good, peaceful. When we experience sounds that we like, then the mind feels clear, we feel good. When we experience a fragrance that we like, or we eat food that we like, then we feel good. And of course there's touch. People feel good, and sometimes they feel good because of touch between male and female. And so also thinking. For people who like to think, then there are thoughts that we like. So when we have these sense objects that we like, we feel good. And this type of good feeling is called Vedayita Sukha. It's a happiness or peace that comes from experiencing one of the sense objects. If we experience an object that we like, when we have it, then it feels good to us. And titi sukha not sabong pao pao pia. Titi sukha sabong pao pao. Titi sukha sabong pao pao. Titi sukha. Okay. So also when we have something like when we have sense pleasures, having it at that moment we feel a type of happiness due to causes coming together, and this is called titi sukha. But this is only in the moment while it's happening, and then when it's over we don't feel happiness anymore. So it changes to feeling of suffering. This is viparinama dukkha, when the happy experience that we had changes from sukha. So what we have most of the time is viparinama dukkha. We have these moments of sukha, happiness that comes together due to causes, this titi sukha. These moments are few and far between. And what happens most of the time is suffering. But it's these small moments of pleasure that we seek, that's what we remember, and that's what we go after. So when one searches, sometimes when one has something, some type of happiness, and then it becomes unsatisfactory, one searches for something more, something better and better. And this can be quite dangerous. For example, involvement in sexual activity. When it goes to excess, then it can lead to disease. And when people take addictive drugs, such as cocaine or other things like that, then taking it can lead to addiction. So these going after sense pleasures is quite dangerous, and it is enough to kill us. So just try to experience one after another all the best possible sense objects that one could have, one after another, 24 hours a day. No one can do this. No one will just experience one sense object after another. What will happen is one needs to sleep. So one will go to bed, get into bed, and fall asleep. And while sleeping, one won't be having delight due to sights. One won't feel good because of sounds or smells or pleasant tastes. Although one's sleeping on the bed, one won't be experiencing the pleasant touch of the bed. And there won't, of course, be the pleasantness of whatever sense pleasures one might want, because one is fast asleep. And this is actually what people like the best. People like the pleasure of a good sleep. There isn't anything enticing. There's nothing that, when we have a good sleep, there's not any involvement with sense objects that make us feel craving, that make us want. It's very peaceful. And if someone were to come and wake us up while we were having this good sleep, how would we feel? We wouldn't like it. And if, on the other hand, we were to be able to sleep fully to the point where we're really rested, and to wake up on our own, we would wake up and we would say, what a good sleep I had. One would praise the sleep. So this is a peaceful type of happiness that does not involve experience of a sense object. When one sleeps fully, say 3 hours, or 4 hours, or 5 hours, when one gets a good rest and one wakes up, then the physical tiredness that was there is gone, and one's body feels fresh. One's mental tiredness, too, is gone, and the mind feels fresh. So this happens, and this is much better than any type of happiness or peace that comes from experiencing sense objects. No one in the world will give up their sleep. If you try, you can try to go without sleeping, but over time, what will happen is you will get sick, and it can even kill you. So, in the world, sleep, the happiness of a good sleep, is the best thing that there is. But in sleep, there is still nama and rupa. There is still mind and matter, and therefore this peace of sleep is not truly peaceful. Achanta Santi, or the ultimate peace, is a peace and happiness that does not involve rupa or matter. There's no nama or mind. So it's very high. It's the highest form of peace. And the Buddha called this nibbana. He also called it avedita sukha. Sukha that does not involve experience of a sense object. And he also called it achanta santi. This is peace that comes from dissolution and dying down. For this peace to arise, we must develop calm, stillness. So the mind that is agitated by lobha, by dosa and moha, is not calm. And these arise because there is still the seeds, the potential for them to arise. There's still the seeds of lobha, dosa and moha. So one moment after another, one needs to still the kilesas. One needs to calm the kilesas. And this is tadanga santi, This is momentary peace. Although one individual moment of observation is not much at all, when we collect these moments one after another in a group, then they become amazingly powerful. The yogis now are practicing this Tadanga Santi, this momentary peace. And Sayadaw will explain about this more tomorrow, because today the time is up. That's all for today. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.